it was kind of an accident. The first thing is that I joined basketball as a player when I was 15 years old. Uh, I started at school because I was playing handball, and there came a time where we were not enough players just to make a team. So when our coach told us that the team was not going to make it because we were not enough players, me and two of my best friends and myself just turned around on the handball court, and we saw people practicing basketball. So we said, okay, why don't we join basketball? And we did. I played for 1 year at school, and then I joined a club here in close to my home. And my coach there at Las Rozas, it's a small town close to Madrid. Uh, he was the director for the first and second level coaching courses. I was 16 at that time, and he asked me to join the course for the first level at Christmas time here in Spain. And I said I didn't want to coach. I was at that time playing. I was 16. I never thought about coaching, so I said I don't want to coach. And he said, "Hey, you gotta do it. Sometime you will thank me." And okay, so I joined the course, and well, I did it. I went through the course. I passed the course. 2 years later, I kept playing, and I went through the second level course. 3 years later, it was the last what we call the last level here in Spain to coach everything. So I did all the courses in about 3 years. And again, I wasn't thinking about coaching, but then I had an injury which retired me from playing. I wasn't a very good player. I was kind of a second division player level. So I started coaching. My coach, Pepe Hernandez, who later became the world champion with Spain and in Japan, he was my coach when I was 18 in Estudiantes. And also he was the sports director for Estudiantes when I was starting to coach in there. And he asked me just to start coaching and forgetting about play. So that's what I did. I started coaching. That's the way I started. It was an injury. So he told me, get a bunch of little kids and you try to teach them what you know. And I said, okay. And from there, I just went through all ages, divisions. I coached every single level until I reached the top level, professional level at ACB here in Spain.
Wow, coach. Congratulations, coach. And speaking, coach, of the program, usually here in us in our Philippines, we're always looking on the European style of basketball. And coach, our topic for today is building youth basketball program in Spain. First, how do you start a youth basketball program?
First is gathering as many kids as possible. That's the first thing. And you should run a program. Well, I don't know how you work there in the Philippines or all around the world. Here in Spain, basically, we have two models. Well, there are a little few more, but basically two models. People who start at school, like I did, okay, and people that play at clubs. And usually, clubs are much more powerful than schools. So most of the kids, when they are serious about playing basketball, they leave their schools to join clubs close to their home sites, but they usually play at clubs, okay? And as a club, your goal should be that any boy or girl that wants to play basketball, he or she should be able to do it at any level, at any age, doesn't matter. The first thing is to gather as many as people as possible playing basketball. Okay, once you got everybody that wants to playing, now that comes the hard work of making them better. And for sure, it has to be something fun at the beginning, especially when they're very young. I think it should be at any time. It should be fun, okay, for the players to play. If not, they will quit. They will abandon the activity, okay? And that's something that you don't want. They will drop off, and that's something just to avoid. So you gotta make it fun, but it's not only about making it fun. If not, you will go to a birthday party and you enjoy whatever is happening there. It's having fun through basketball. And there are two ways where I know kids or human beings usually have fun. The first one is doing something that you like. Okay, when you do something that you like at any time, you usually have fun. The second one is learning new things. Human beings love learning new things. And when you see the reaction of a kid when he learns or she learns something new at school, the first thing he wants to do is to share it with his environment, especially with his parents. Okay, so that means that he enjoys getting better. So that's the way to gather all those kids and try to improve them while having fun. It's we're not always going to do what you want to do. Sometimes it's going to be what we coaches want to do because we know how to improve you guys. It's not always going to be fun initially. But if I teach you something new, you're going to be enjoying it. So that's a way of trying to join the two aspects of having fun so you can develop those kids to get better. Okay, so but first, let every kid play, make it fun, and then improve them.
Thank you, Coach. That's our first question is about that. How do you start youth basketball? And the second, Coach, how do you develop more your basketball program?
Well, then the first thing is for sure you gotta tell them the technique of the sport you're trying to teach. In this case, basketball. So you gotta teach them how to handle the ball, how to shoot, how to pass, how to dribble, how to pivot, how to move their body through the court so they can keep in a stance position. They can be in balance whenever they want to be. You gotta tell them, you gotta show or teach them all those kind of stuff. That's the fundamentals. You gotta teach the fundamentals, but at the same time, you gotta be teaching to understand the whole game. And this is something particularly important in my opinion. Here's a debate in Spain about what's first, technical skills or tactical skills, and I think that it's a false debate. It's both at the same time. It makes no sense for me that if basketball is a group sport, a 5-player sport on court, that you only teach one-on-one. Okay, you gotta understand that it's a sport that's played by 5 players, so it's a group sport, and that's something that it's gotta be taught from the beginning. Of course, with kids that are already starting to play basketball that don't already know how to dribble the ball, you cannot start playing sets. It makes no sense. They don't have the skills to play sets. But of course, there's one big thing that it's for me the fundamental tactical block, which is spacing. And for sure, even unconsciously, you're always teaching spacing, because when you got kids that go all for the ball at the same time, one of your first goals, not only teaching them how to dribble, how to pass, how to shoot, all those kind of sounds, the fundamentals of the technical skills, but you will tell them to spread. You know, when they go all for the ball, you're telling them to spread. What are you doing? You're starting to teach tactics, which is the first fundamental blocks about collective playing or tactic playing is spacing. Okay, so at the beginning, when they're young, when they don't have enough skills to play basketball as we know it, yes, stuck to spacing. But you gotta tell them that they cannot play together. I mean, not together, they have to play together, but they cannot be in the same place at the same time while they're playing basketball. Okay, and it's gonna take time, because those little kids only understand one thing. They're selfish, like human beings usually are. So they think that they are only the stars of the show if they got the ball. That's why they go all for the ball. Okay, but we as coaches, we gotta teach them that it's not only playing with the ball, but also playing without the ball. It's that when somebody's got the ball, you gotta offer a passing lane, and you gotta leave enough space for the ball to play whatever he wants to play. Okay, so you develop, and I finish with that, you develop the technical skills and spacing skills at the same time, and they have to grow together. Okay, the more they learn on fundamental skills, the more you can teach them about spacing. Okay, so you're kind of going at the same path or rhythm when you're growing on technical and tactical skills.
Yes, coach. And coach, you said earlier that there's two things to develop the sports program: one in school and in club. How do you develop first school? How do you start in school, gathering kids, and how about the student coach, the teachers, the management of the school? How do you do that, coach? You
Well, the
present.
first,
Yes, coach.
yeah, first of
You.
all, here in Spain, we got it's mandatory that there should be about 3 hours per week of physical classes. Okay, usually most of the schools have a basketball uh, uh, work on those classes. Okay, they teach basic things like again balance, strength, all those kind of stuff. But also they introduce the kids into sports. For sure, here in Spain, the more important sport is soccer. So soccer is played all around, even in classes. Okay, but most of the schools have also the basketball program. Okay, so they're first introduced into basketball through those physical classes that belong to normal school. Then there's a out of school schedule basketball program that not all schools have, but most of them do. Okay, so you ask whoever is interested to join the program. So after school, as soon as it ends school at, I don't know, at 5 o'clock, we finish school. So you stay from 5 to 6:30 practicing your sport, in this case, basketball. I think that's the first move. For sure, the school has to have not only the teachers that teach on the physical classes, okay, but also coaches that have to coach on that after school schedule activity. Okay, and this is for us much more important than the previous one. Okay, well, both are important, but of course, the ones that has to stay after school to teach those kids, it's more important for us. So again, the goal is the same, is to make the activity close to any kid that wants to join the program. Okay, that's for me the first thing. And at school, again, it's when they start, you gotta teach them the fundamentals, and you gotta teach them the tactical fundamentals. You start growing. I don't know. Sometimes somebody joins your program that already knows some things. Okay.
Yeah.
As a coach, you gotta adjust yourself to the level of every kid, because you gotta improve every single kid on your program. It's not only one. It's not that you set a level and there you start teaching from there. No, you gotta teach everybody something new. Okay, so you gotta adjust the way you practice so every kid can improve whatever the level they're in at that moment. Okay, for me that's the important
Even
thing.
in ages, coach, do you designate them in ages when you start the
I
program?
rather, yeah. Well, we're forced to segregate by ages. I would rather segregate by level. Okay. And even here in Spain, we segregate even by gender, males and females. And when they're starting, when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, there's no so big difference between boys and girls, especially physically talking. Okay, even girls develop earlier than boys, usually. So if you gotta mix them. As long as they play, I would rather have similar level players playing in the same team. It doesn't matter if they're boys, it doesn't matter if they're girls, it doesn't matter if they're good or they're bad. I mean, as long as they match on a similar level, that's the way for me to go. But rules in competition, especially competition rules, force us to segregate between women and men, and to segregate between ages. Okay, so we gotta accept it, but I don't like it. I don't like it because it's not the same a boy that started playing basketball when he was 4 than a boy that starts playing basketball when he's 12. Okay, for sure, the one that started playing basketball when he's 4 is gonna have many more skills than the one when he's 12 than the one that starting basketball at 12. Okay, they're the same age, not the same level, for sure. So, but I can't do anything about it. I mean, competition makes the rules, and I gotta adapt to those rules. Okay. One other thing is that we can do is what we do to practice, not to play. We're forced by the regulation, but in practice, I can mix as I want. Okay, so I don't really care at those early ages. Again, if they're boys, if they're girls, I like to mix them. Okay, and again, if I have a 12-year kid that can play with a 14-year-old team, okay, ask him, and this is important, ask him if he wants to play there, because the motivation for every kid is not the same. Okay, and there are players that are playing basketball because they want to improve, they want to be better every day. Okay, and probably if he's got the level to play on a higher age and you ask him, he probably say yes. But there are kids that are playing basketball because they want to spend time with their friends, and even if they're good, if you ask them if they want to join a higher level team, a higher age team, they will say no, because then they wouldn't be playing with their friends. So don't assume that everybody wants to be at their level. Ask them, okay? If you think that they have a higher level, that you can take them to a higher team, ask them if they want to join that team. Because there are going to be a few players that are going to say no. And the reason is because they want to keep playing with their friends. And you got to respect their decision. That's my opinion. Because if not, maybe they will drop off. And we don't want them to drop off. Okay, we want them to keep enjoying basketball and keep improving as long as they want.
Yes, coach. And also, coach, do you allow the parents to come in the practice on your training?
Sorry, if I allow parents to come to see practice?
Yes.
I do. Okay, but and I think I understand where you're going or where you're trying to focus. Okay, you gotta see parents not as enemies, but as an allies. Okay,
Yeah.
so the way to transform parents as allies instead of enemies is to make it very clear before the season starts, even before you start practicing on pre-season, what your goal for those kids are. Okay, and they should be aware what they're gonna work on. So you fix expectations for everybody, especially for the parents. Okay, I mean, you as a club, you as a school, you as a coach, I don't know who's gonna have that conversation. It depends on the structure of the club or the school you're having. Okay, somebody has to sit, and if it's the sports manager or if it's the principal of the school, it has to be done with the coach. Coach has to be in that meeting. Okay, and in that meeting, you're gonna tell what you're gonna try to do with them during the season. It's the same like in school. I mean, when I leave my kid at school, I like to know what he's gonna be taught during that year. And usually with regular matters or subjects, okay, I know what he's gonna learn in math in, I don't know, in 4th grade. They tell me. Okay, so I know what to expect. They tell me how they're gonna treat him. And if I don't know how they're gonna treat him, and I don't know how it works in the Philippines. Here in Spain, there are 2 kinds of schools: the private school, the public school. Okay, in the public school, you have nothing to say, but in the private school, you decide to go to that school. So I guess that if you join a program, it's because you like the way that they run the program. It's not that I don't like it, but once I'm in, I'm gonna try to change everything. That's not the way things work. That's why it's very important that you got that meeting where you tell the parents, it's kind of telling them what rights they have with their kid joining the program, which is we're going to teach them, I don't know, how to shoot, how to dribble, how to pass. We're going to try to reach to this level. We're going to compete in this competition. Maybe we want to make it to the finals of the national championship. I don't know, whatever it is. Or maybe we're just having fun, whatever it is. Set what you're going to do and tell the parents how the season is going to be like. And then you got to tell them also what their obligations are. It's not only the rights, it's the obligations. So in the obligations, it's kind of, you gotta respect not only your kid, but the rest of the kids in the team. They're all playing. So you cannot be disrespectful with the other kids, especially when you're having the meeting with the parents at the beginning of the preseason, okay? It's very simple. You ask the parents there, would you allow any of the other parents insulting your kid? And they say no. Okay, so we cannot allow this during the season. Okay, if I hear somebody in the crowd yelling, not at his kid, that I wouldn't even allow that. Okay, but a kid's partner, man, you're saying here you do not allow anybody here in this room to do it. Okay. Then that's what we're going to do during the season. So when you set the rules and they're clear and you set the expectations, it's very easy when they don't apply to the conventions you treated on that meeting, or they behave in a way that's not adapted to what you talked on that meeting. It's very simple to go and talk to them and remind them the meeting you had at the beginning. Okay, we said we're going to be behaving this way. And we managed to do it. So now, if you're behaving in another way, okay, you got to tell them. And there are two things that can happen. It can happen that, okay, that recognize they're behaving wrong and they come back into the right way or the way that you decided it was going to be, perfect. Or they break everything up and they say that they're not going to change. Okay, if they say they're not going to change, they're breaking the rules. It's them breaking the rules because you already set them and you talk to them previous to starting the season. So now you got the right to do whatever you want. So usually what I do in my program when I was teaching young kids, and I was the sports director for Estudiantes youth team for 8 years, what I did was, if his behavior on the crowd was not the one expected, I talked to them. I told them why why we were not happy with their behavior, reminding them those meetings we had before. Okay, and then I say, okay, I'm gonna ask you, if he doesn't change, I'm gonna ask you not to come anymore. Okay, because it's affecting not only your kid but other kids. And if he refuses to accept that he cannot join the team anymore, then I will say, if you keep coming, then you will have to take your kid with you. You decide. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to bother your kid, you got to accept the rules. If you keep doing the same thing and you don't accept it, then I will tell you to get the kid with you and get both out of here. Is the kid responsible for his parents' behavior? Not, but not the rest of the team also.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, that's the way I treat things, but important. The meeting where you set expectations at the beginning. Okay?
Yeah.
And you know as a coach that you also have your obligations. I mean, if you told them that you were gonna practice with them 3 days a week, 1 hour, you cannot be late and practice only 45 minutes. Okay, why? Because you told them that you were gonna be practicing for 1 hour, 3 days a week. So you cannot go and then, okay, today we're gonna practice 45 minutes because I'm late. That's your obligation. You're breaking the rule. Now it's you as a coach breaking the rules. So that's why parents have rights with their kids and obligations, how they behave, okay? And we as coaches, we have our rights and our obligations with the kids. Okay, and it's very important for me to make it clear from the beginning. If you make it clear from the beginning, things should work right. And if they don't, you just remind what you talked on that meeting. That's the way of acting. That's my way of acting. And usually when you do this right, parents become your allies. They want the best for their kids. And this is very important. They want the best for their kid. For sure, they can be selfish. That's why you talk in front of everybody, because nobody likes to be seen as selfish in front of the rest of the parents. Okay? That's why it's important to have that meeting at the beginning.
Yes, Coach. Thank you, Coach. Coach, I would like to acknowledge Coach Calvin Sangalang. He's our head or junior NBA program here in the Philippines. Hi, Coach Calvin. We have a signal problem. Okay, Coach. Coach, we're on the school. How about we finish about the parents? How about the strength and conditioning for youth basketball, for your youth basketball in Spain? Do you put it in?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it depends. It depends the time you have to practice. Usually we split the physical part and the basketball part, but not always you have the time to split it. So when you don't have the time to I don't know, to be 3 hours practicing per day, okay, so you can do 1 hour of physical training and 1 hour and a half, that's 2 hours and a half of court. You gotta mix them both together on court. For sure, when you're teaching or you're practicing with little kids, it's all mixed together, and you don't even think about it. I mean, they run, they jump, they do all these crazy things that we humans do, okay, and that's part of their physical development. You just gotta take in care. You just gotta be aware that when you design your practice session, you gotta be thinking not only in basketball things, but things related to having a good stance position, a good balance, how to run, how to jump, all those kind of stuff. Okay, and you can run drills that mix both things at the same time. But as soon as you can, as soon as you have enough time, or as soon as they start to get bigger, okay, as soon as they become teenagers, the best thing is for me is to split both works. So you can work at the gym and you can work on court, and they're both different works. Although there's a lot of work that can be done by the physical trainer on court, okay, and that's very important. When I was young, I was running always outside on a field and track outside, okay, just running. Now, when you want your team to run, you do it on court, okay? But we differentiate what is the physical when we're practicing to improve the physical part, and when we're practicing to just play and learn basketball.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Calvin, do you have a question for Coach Jose? Hello, Coach Calvin. Okay, maybe he cannot hear us. Coach, how about Coach? What is we go on? We finish on the strength and conditioning now, Coach. What is the best defense for youth basketball?
The best defense?
Yes, Coach, for youth basketball.
Good defense. Good defense.
Yeah.
Okay, I know why you're asking this. You would say man to man. Okay. Okay, I don't practice zone defense with young kids. I don't, which doesn't mean that you can do a very good defense and improve your players doing zone defense. But, and this is very important because I understand that maybe the people or the coaches that are listening are not experienced enough, okay? To play zone defense with small kids and do it in the right way, you gotta be very experienced. So what I suggest is the better way to teach basketball to young kids is man-to-man defense. But there are coaches with a lot of experience that can do it on the reverse, okay? And especially, and this is very important for me because if not, language becomes a trap. The debate is if you can teach zone on at young ages when they're very young. Okay, I told you I'd rather do man-to-man. Okay, that doesn't mean that if you're running man-to-man defense, you are doing a good job. You understand what I mean? Okay, you can be teaching man-to-man defense and, you allow me the word, doing a shit of a defense. If you don't teach right, if you don't teach good, doesn't matter what you teach, you are not teaching. So it's not about zone or man, which I define myself. I rather do man-to-man defense with youth players. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're doing a good job. You gotta teach right, and teaching right is not easy. You gotta know your sport. You gotta know what you're teaching. Okay, it's not that, oh, I'm not doing zone, so I'm doing it right. No, that's what I told you. That when you asked me, what's the defense or the best defense for youth teams? Good defense.
Mhm. Thank you, Coach. Coach Enrico, hi. I want to acknowledge Coach Enrico Quintana. He's from Washington, D.C.
Coach.
Okay. Hi, Enrico.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Coach, we just, Coach Jose telling us there's in building a youth basketball program in Spain, they have school program and clubs, but most of the strong players are playing on the clubs. That's why we start first on school, because most of us, most of our here coach in the Philippines, most of our leagues development start with the school, and there's a season only for club teams.
Okay.
Coach Enrico, do you have a question for Coach Jose?
Yeah, Coach, we got some similarities to here, but both sides have some strength, like the clubs and the schools as well. So we have AAUs that, you know, sometimes we get our prospects more on the ranking players there, but but they go to school as well. But regarding to the youth, Coach, I mean, like, what is actually the Spanish? I mean, how does the Spanish culture? How do you guys started from, you know, developing you know, from the youth? How actually you guys starts from what? I mean, like, 'cause, you know, normally, like here in the US, you see we have some more on one-on-one, you know, like we call it a street ball basketball, like on the young. You know, I mean, the you call this you will see more plays coming on their college level, some kind of on the high school, but on the teen, like middle school and elementary, most are like, you know, one-on-one, so iso ball. So
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I talked a little bit at the beginning, Enrico, but the thing here is that for sure, once a kid arrives and he doesn't know anything about basketball, first you're gonna teach the fundamentals. You gotta teach how to dribble, how to pass, how to shoot, how to even control his body. I mean, how to be in a balanced position whenever he's running, whenever he tries to stop, all those kind of stuff. Okay, but I said that at the same time, this is a group sport. It's not an individual sport. So you gotta be teaching that. If not, you're gonna have a hard time at the end. Let's say it this way. If you spend 10 years teaching somebody only individual skills, he will think that that's an individual sport. Okay? So when you try to make him understand the game as a group sport, he will struggle because he's not used to that. So it's very important if you perceive, because it depends on how your club, your school, your institution understands basketball, and this is very important. Again, I mean, if your institution understands basketball as a one-on-one and for looking, then you should focus on that. If your institution understands basketball as a group sport, then you should focus on that. Okay, and for sure you need individual skills to work as a group, but you cannot forget about the group component when you're teaching. Okay, so for sure, if I receive an 8-year-old kid that it's the first time that he practices basketball, I gotta teach him individual skills, but at the same time I will run group games so he understands that's not only about him. it's about the whole group. Okay, that for me is important. And both of them, both skills, the group skill and the individual skill should grow at the same time. For sure, one another having in count the level at the proper time that they have on both sides. I mean, if I don't know how to dribble, it makes no sense that I run a horn set. Okay, that's impossible. So it makes no sense. But if I'm starting to learn how to dribble, I can start teaching, and I said here before, about spacing, about telling the other guys in the game that they should let his teammate the space to express himself. Okay? But I'm telling them to leave the space not only to let his teammate play, but also so if he receives and he should be offering passing lanes, okay, that he also has the space to play. That's tactics. It's the first block, spacing. It's tactics. It's a group game. Okay. So in those terms, I think that you should teach both things at the same time, and you adequate the group stuff to the individual skills, or the individual skills to what you are trying to teach as a group. And as soon as you understand that, you're going to be growing both things at the same time, and you're going to be complicating things coming along with time. I mean, when you already see that your kids have don't struggle when having to dribble with the left and the right, then it will come easy, I don't know, to do things, changing direction, changing the ball from one hand to the other, okay, all those kind of stuff. You just grow with it, okay? For sure, if the kid doesn't even know how to dribble on the same place, he's gonna struggle running and changing direction at the same time. So you gotta leave time just to let him get used to lower level things, and then increase the difficulty of the things you are trying to do. But I think that makes sense as we human beings learn anything. Okay, I don't start math trying to resolve derivatives. Okay, I start math trying to add, to multiply, to subtract, okay, basic things. And then I keep growing. Okay, basketball is the same. Okay, I don't just set, I don't know, a flex set when they don't even know how to shoot the ball. For me, makes no sense.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Because we already tackled about in building your program. You said the students, then parents, then the strength conditioning, the defense, and Coach, when you're doing an offense, how do you teach it to them? Because in program, it's important they're playing. You do not usually let them just play, or you have a system for them.
Yeah, it's curious because what I'm going to be talking about here is that, for instance, what I want, and let's talk about mini basketball. Well, we have mini basketball in Spain, which is from from when they start, which usually is 8 years old here in Spain, till they're 11, 12 years old. Okay, in mini basketball, our goal is to teach the fundamentals, okay, and also teach about spacing. Okay, and usually we teach them how to drive and kick, drive and dish, share the ball, and when somebody has the space, just to try to drive or try to shoot it. Okay, so it's kind of strange because I want to start building the collective thing, okay, not in a way of sets, but in a sense where they understand that we move as a group in order to let the ball do whatever he wants to do with the ball. If he wants to pass, we should be offering passing lanes, okay? If he wants to drive, we should move in a way where he's got the biggest space possible in order to try to find the lane to drive, okay? And what I do is I set the rules so they start understanding what spacing means, Okay, and that's for me the important thing. I know, I don't know if it's in the rest of the world. Okay, the more important thing is that you gotta be consequent with what you think. What I mean is, if you're trying to teach the fundamental skills at those ages, okay, and you're focused on the one-on-one thing, okay, with the rest of the team moving according to what you're trying to do, it makes no sense that you start playing pass and cut. Because if you start playing pass and cutting, every time somebody receives the ball, he does not have the space to drive. Why? Because somebody's cutting. So it makes no sense that you think that you gotta start teaching the individual skills, okay? And you start playing, when you start playing a 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3 or a 4-on-4, whatever, your rule is always you pass, you cut, you go opposite. First, that's a set. That's a set. They have no freedom. And I don't like it. Okay? Second, you are trying to teach them to play the one-on-one. When can they play the one-on-one? If every time they receive somebody's cutting to the basket, they don't have the space to drive. Okay? And usually we said pass, cut, and replace. Yeah, and when somebody replaces, if you don't give them the ball on time, you lose the passing lane, right? So when somebody's cutting and leaving the space that I can drive, at that moment, somebody's already replacing, so I have to pass. So when you drive. So it makes sense to play pass and cut if your goal in mini basketball is to teach about passing. Then go ahead with it. If your goal is to teach the one-on-one skills, which for me is the goal, okay, it makes no sense to play pass and cut because it goes against to what we're trying to teach. So the thing is, I'm not saying that passing and cutting is wrong. I'm saying it's not consequent if you think that what you gotta teach at those ages is play one-on-one.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Calvin. Hi, Coach Calvin.
Good evening, Coach.
Hello.
Coach, do you have a question for Coach Jose?
No, Coach. I just joined because my internet is having problems. But I agree with Coach. Passing and cutting is not optimized for driving. You can say that for the pass and cut or the 5-out offense or motion or read and react offense, that the driving lane will be open. But if you teach it in the youth level, I don't really think that the driving will be the first one that they will look. They will always look to pass to the cutter. I agree.
Let me add one thing. If you let me set the rules for competitions of those ages, 8 to 12, I would not play 5-on-5. Okay? And this is very important. I wouldn't play one-on-one because this is a group sport and I believe it's a group sport. Okay? But I wouldn't play 5-on-5. It's too complicated for them. And it's more important, I said at the beginning, kids are selfish. They think that they enjoy the game when they have the ball. Chances of having the ball with 9 other players on court are much less than if there's only 5 more players on court. You are playing 3-on-3, you only have 2 teammates. Chances that those 3 players touch more time the ball, have more time the ball in their hands, is much bigger than playing a 5-on-5. And at those ages, they're not able to understand the 5-on-5. They cannot, well, even at senior, a lot of players struggle to see all the rest of the players on court. What can we say about young players? Okay, so simplify the game for them. For instance, I also believe that this is a group sport. I'm never gonna deny that. And I like, because playing that 3-on-3, for me, shouldn't be in one court. You can practice in one court, but if playing competition, I would play 3-on-3 on 2 courts. Playing on 2 courts, a 3-on-3 on a normal 2-court, a full court, 3-on-3, it's very, you're gonna get tired too soon because it's a very long distance from one rim to the other. But if you put one rim, if you are able to do it, if you put one rim on half court on the sideline and another rim on the other sideline, you have reduced the distance in length of the court to half, and you're playing up and down. You're going up and down. So instead of running 28 meters, you only have to run 14. That's the way I would run competitions with young teams. 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 2 courts, but not full length, but half length. That's how I would do it.
Thank you, coach. Because usually, coach, that's why we ask us all the building sports basketball usually in here in the Philippines you usually do in its school, but we now in Spain it's a much bigger if you do it in club. That's why it's a good thing for us that we can learn more about now the club teams, coach. How do you start a club team?
No, well, it's a matter of usually it's not always the case, but usually basketball played in clubs is much more serious than the one playing at schools. There are better coaches. There's more, I don't know, respect for the activity, however you want to call it. Okay, so as soon as a kid, we all know where we're living. So as soon as a kid wants to get a little bit serious about the sport, they immediately join a club. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, because we got female and male clubs, okay, and even clubs that have both female and male teams, okay. So they know that if they want to get a little bit more serious about it, they're going to join a club. And especially because a club usually practices more time. I mean, maybe at school you practice 2 times a week, maybe 3. I don't know any school that plays basketball or practices basketball 4 days a week. So that's why I was telling you that if you want to get serious, a little bit more serious about practicing basketball, you got to move to a club. Okay, there's some exceptions for sure. There's some schools that do a very good job, just like clubs. Okay, but it's not usually the case. Usually it's clubs which are the places where you gotta go if you want to be, I don't know, if you want to improve a little bit more, if you want to be more serious about the sport you're practicing. Okay, so it's a natural thing. You just go, and usually you got good clubs all around. Okay, so you don't have to move long distances. You shouldn't. If you're young, you shouldn't move long distances to practice every day, because of course, and this is very important, even if you join a club, you should keep studying. I mean, that it's, instead of you finish school, you stay 1.5 hours longer to practice basketball 3 days a week, like we were saying at school. Now you gotta move from school. You finish school at 5, I don't know, and you're joining your practice session at 6 o'clock because you gotta go from your school to the club and then start practicing. Okay, there's a time where you gotta move, and that's one of the inconveniences about practicing in a club instead of at school. That you gotta move from one place to other. That's time that you spend in a car, in a bus, in a train, whatever, okay, where you're not taking benefit of your time, okay, you're just moving. So it's an inconvenience, but you accept the inconvenience because you're gonna get something better in the club than in the school in terms of practicing basketball.
Yes, coach. Coach Enrico.
Yeah, coach. I agree. I heard that, like, that's how it went there in Europe. Like, more clubs are much more better than going to a school teams. Coach, just wanted to know, coach. How's the experience, coach, when you coach the national team? You be part of the coaching the national team of Spain. How did you guys did, and what is the experience that you got from that? When you're coaching that.
Well, coaching national teams in Spain, and we start with as national team, we start with under 16 teams. Okay, there's some competitions with under 14 and under 15. They're not official. I mean, they're not European championships. They're not world championships. But we start playing tournaments when there are under 14. Okay, and I joined the under 16 national team for the first time. It was with Ricky Rubio's generation. We won for the first time the under 16 European championship for Spain. Now we got 4 more championships, but that was the first one. You're playing with elite players. I mean, they're under 16, but they're the elite of under 16 players in Spain. And that's huge. I mean, if you compare those kids to regular under 20 kids, they can beat them. To regular. Of course, there are another elite players that are under 18, under 20. Okay, so it's kind of a professional experience because you're not joining a normal team. You're joining a elite team, a group of selected players which are very, very good at their age. Very good. Very good. Even when I was driving or managing the Estudiantes youth program for 8 years, okay, I remember that when kids came from schools and small clubs, and you were running I don't know, yeah, workouts. You call them workouts to see if they were good enough to join your program. Okay, a lot of them were disappointed because they didn't understand why you didn't get them, why you didn't take them into your program. Because when you worked out with them, you weren't working with the players that were already on your club. So they don't see the difference. Okay. They think that because they're very good at their place, that they're good enough. And for sure, talent can be born anywhere. Okay. And that's the reality. Talent grows anywhere, okay? But clubs gather talent, okay? And sometimes you live in your bubble, and you think that the world is like your bubble, okay? Whatever is happening around you is what's happening all around the world, and that's not the case, okay? And the difference of level of those elite kids and the normal kids is so huge, even in terms of physical aspects. I mean, you can be tall at your school, maybe, and I don't know I know it in European measures, okay? I'm 183, okay? That's kind of 6 foot or something like that, okay? I'm tall. In my environment, I'm tall. But when I join one of these elite teams, even under 16, even under 14, I'm a small guy. And they don't understand it because they say, I'm a small? How can I be a small? I'm the biggest guy in my school. And you say, yeah, but you would be the smallest guy here in the team. You think you are strong, and when you are surrounded by those elite guys, you are not strong. I mean, there are exceptions. And again, for sure, you can be strong and tall anywhere, but usually somebody's going to see you and he's going to bring you into a bigger program. Okay? And that's something that we got to fight against, is that those kids don't understand because they cannot face or they do not practice with those guys, that they're not at the right level at that moment. I mean, maybe they can improve. I don't know. I never condemn anybody, but it's hard for them because they compare themselves to their surroundings. Okay, and being the best in a small surrounding can mean nothing in a bigger one.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, and for sure, maybe you are very good in a small surrounding and you're also very good, and then I will see you and I will say, okay, come join my program. Okay, you came here, you worked out, I like you, stay. But that's gonna be one out of, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 players. So there are a lot of players that don't understand why they can't join your programs when you're working with elite. And when we're working with national teams here in Spain, you are working with elite players. And as stats say, most or a lot of the players that play in the national team, at the end, they make it to the professional leagues. Okay, it can be first division, second division, but they end up, most of them end up playing professional leagues.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, just want to ask for that because like every country, they have their own process. How do they select their elite team, as well as in the Philippines and here too in the US. Like in the US, the way they do that is like there are like an elite program like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. So you have to be ranking for you to get seen. But there are players too that staying in their own city and state that they're playing there. So if you're really good, you're gonna get heard, even though you're not playing on those what you call it.
And Enrico, this is very important. Sometimes you get a very good kid in a small town. Somebody goes and tries to get him into their own program, and he says no. And he stays in his hometown, I don't know, for 4 more years. And that kid, as you said, if he's good enough, he's going to make it.
Yeah.
You don't have to always, because there's a very important aspect of this, which is the human aspect.
Yeah.
Not every, and especially here in Spain, okay, because I know cultures are very different all around the world, but especially here in Spain, not every 12, 13-year-old kid is ready to leave their parents just to play basketball.
Like Larry Bird coach.
I mean, and we gotta understand that, and that's what I was telling. Usually, especially in big cities, you got good clubs all around. I mean, maybe if you're living in Seville, you don't join Real Madrid, okay? But you got a very good club in Seville, so you can join your city team, okay? And it's good enough. And then when you're older, you're bigger, you're ready, you're mature enough just to leave your hometown, then, okay, you may join Real Madrid or Barcelona or whatever you're thinking about, big teams, okay? The problem is that just like everywhere, there are small towns, very small towns, spread all around the country. And then that kid if he wants to improve, he's got to move. Okay, but that's not an easy decision, because nobody can guarantee you that you're going to make it to a professional level. Nobody. So it's like, okay, I'm leaving my hometown, but what am I going to get out of this experience? Okay, because I'm leaving to play basketball. So it's very important that when you leave your hometown, it's not only for playing basketball, but also because you're going to receive what you call a high education degree, whatever, college, a high school, I don't know, whatever. You cannot forget about that. Okay, you got to keep growing as a human being. Okay, and on those terms, how we select players here in Spain, Enrico, is we gotta, well, first, in Spain, we're kind of 19 communities which will relate to states in the United States, okay? And there's and I think that it's similar there, I don't know. We got a championship for every community, for every state, on every level, okay? And when you become the champion of your state, you join the national championship, okay? But we also, that's in terms of clubs and schools, okay? But also, we got what we call community teams, which means under 12, under 14, and under 16, we got a Spanish championship for states, which means that at under 18, each state selects what they think is their best 12 players of their state, and we play a championship. It's depending on the age, it's on Christmas or it's on Eastern time, okay? And national team coaches go there and watch, because for sure states can miss some good players. For sure, it happens. But most of the best players of the country are going to be there. So now you're not selecting about, you got to see everyone, which is impossible, but every state has already made a selection. And you go there and you see all 19 selections, okay? And now you get used to which of those players are the best players to join the national team. Okay, that's the way we do it.
Coach, I have a question.
Let's go.
Yeah. Good evening, Coach. Coach, I have 3 questions. The first one is with the club. How do you differentiate girls from boys? Do they play together up to what age? And then number 2, if I may ask, maybe you can give us an estimate. How much does it cost a parent to enroll their kids to a club? because it's different. Some, as you said, clubs can pick their players, like give them scholarship. You can play for us and we train you. But what if I'm just going to enroll to
Okay.
be a bit more serious? And then the third one, coach, is with regards to the tournament that you're saying, the 19 states select 12 players from all over the state. Doesn't matter which club you play on or which school you are from, as long as you're geographically from the same state, then you get selected. Then who coached that team? Who's the coach for that one? Yeah. Thank you, coach.
Okay, let's go in order.
Yes, coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one is that for as long as I know, males and females are segregated from the start, and this is something I don't like. I was talking before, especially at young ages, I don't care to mix them. I don't care, but most of competition rules do not allow it.
Okay.
Okay, so you gotta play in a female team or in a male team. Okay, males on male teams, females on female teams. In this case, I understand that when we are older, when we are 18, when we're 19, usually there's a difference in physical strength between, usually, there are exceptions, okay, between males and females. And I understand that that segregation can make sense when there's that difference of physical strength, okay? Because then, I mean, girls can feel overwhelmed because of the difference playing against people that are much better than them physically, okay? Athletically, which we would say. So I understand that there's that segregation at that moment, but I will also say, okay, I would understand the matters for a female team if they gotta face a male team. But let's say this, let's say that we got a girl that's good enough, that's physically good to compete with the boys. Why shouldn't we let that girl play on a male's team? What matters us is the physical difference, okay? Okay, don't let boys play on female teams, because somebody would say, okay, they got the advantage of being physically stronger, okay. But in the other way, what's the problem? Well, I would allow it. I mean, if I got an 18-year-old girl that can compete with the boys, let her play. I was telling at the beginning with Melky that competition segregates by ages. I would do it by levels. Me, Jota, would do it by levels. Okay, I know it's very difficult to do it, but I would do it that way. This is correlated to that. If a girl can play when she's 18 with boys, let her play with boys. And just for you to know, we got cases here in Spain, and I know it's soccer cases, it doesn't matter, because it's sport, where I remember there was a girl that was allowed to play in a soccer league with the boys. She was the best of her team. She was scoring, I don't know, a lot of goals per game. So the other teams started complaining. And at the end, they forbid her to play in a male team because she was better than the boys. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Okay, I can understand, as I told you, the other way around. Okay, if I'm physically better at my age than the girls at my age, it makes no sense that I can play against the girls if the girls don't allow it, okay? But in the other way around, let everybody play on their level. Doesn't matter if it's female or male. That's my opinion, okay? Second thing you ask, and try to remember.
Yeah, it's okay. How much, coach, is it?
Okay, the money cost. Okay. Some years from now, it was free. Right now, most of the clubs take money from you if you want to join the club. And it depends. It depends. Usually, it can go from what clubs try to do is that they have to or they try to cover all their expenses related to how much it costs to join a competition, how much it costs to pay the referees, how much all those expenses for the money they ask the players to pay. Okay, but they also have other ways of incoming, not only from players paying a fee. So that can range from, I don't know, it can be 50 euros per month to 120 per month, something like that. Okay, so it depends where you are playing, and it's not related to the level, and this is important. Okay, it's not that better teams ask for more money, and usually it's the opposite. Okay, it depends on where you live, on the level of incoming of the zone you're living. Okay, that they're gonna ask for more or less money. Okay, in these terms, for me, and I was saying at the beginning, it's very important that no kid gets out of the program just because he cannot afford playing. Okay, so for me, it's very important that those clubs should have scholarships for players that cannot afford to play in his area if he wants to play. And it's very easy to say it from the outside. You gotta be in the shoes of the managers running the clubs, or all those kind of stuff. But for what I know, most of the clubs make exceptions if they find one of those cases. Okay, and remember that usually clubs are in one area for sure. And I mean, if a club is in a wealthy area, usually kids can join the team. Okay, problems rise when the club is in a poor area. Okay, but usually those clubs don't ask for too much money. Okay, if they even do. Okay, so they can run those situations. But I told you it depends. It usually is from 50 to 120. So it's kind of 600 euros per year for a normal regular player to join the program. Okay, that covers the clothes he's going to wear from the team. That covers the fees that the club has to pay to join the team on a competition, the referees, all those kind of stuff. Okay.
Coach,
And it used to be free, but it's not free any longer in most of the cases.
Coach, can I chime
Yes,
in
coach.
on that?
Excuse, coach. Ask a question. No, coach.
Coach,
I will
does
just ask.
that you're getting some sponsorship to some sponsorship, and as well as like, so does it make some competition that the clubs needs to be really good in getting some championship to be known, so that you can get some more support from because like you might be not the only one club that is running in that city or state.
Yeah, of course, Enrico. If you're a team that wins championships, sponsors will try to stick to you. Okay, and that will bring money. That's normal. Okay, but it's not usual how it works. I mean, here we got kind of a mix between what I pay as a fee as a player to join my program, okay, my club. Okay, clubs, not all the clubs, but clubs also get, I don't know how to say it in English. I don't know the word in English, but I will tell you the concept. Is they get money from the
Federation.
Sorry?
One like a subsidy from the federation.
Yeah, a subsidy. Yeah, they get a subsidy just to promote sports. Okay, so they got some income from the institutions of the city, of the town, or wherever. So they get help. Okay, so it's a mix of things. So we can, because for sure, also the city, the town, the institutions are welcoming clubs because they're developing sports. So when a kid joins a sport program, it's less likely that they are on the streets doing other things. Okay, so it helps everybody. So I guess that's the way we work here in Spain. That's all culture. Okay, that's why it's not that you're fighting for that sponsorship. Usually clubs do not fight for, I mean, let's say Nike. Okay, Nike just, let's say that he has two incomes from for sponsoring only two teams. it's not everybody fighting for Nike just to sponsor you. Okay, that's not usually what happens here. It's not the way we work here. Okay, for sure, Nike may sponsor somebody. Okay, but it's not. That's not the way that clubs usually get their income. Okay, so for sure, if you win a championship, especially if you are a not known club, you gotta be aware that the first division here, which is ACB league, okay, the senior league, one of the rules they have is they have to have mandatory one under 14 team, one under 16 team, one under 18 team. So usually the best clubs in every city are related to the ACB clubs because they have the structure, okay, and the money to run a program, and they try to build the players to join their first division team. Okay.
I think that structure, Coach. Again, I'm very curious about the club system because it's not existent here. I've been to other countries and most of them they have club system, but it's a bit different from what you're saying. Especially for this one, if the pro team or the Division 1 team, it's mandatory for them to have like their underlying U13, U16 division. Then it makes sense for them to create a program, not just create their senior team. So either it's them or they partner with the club, or they partner with someone else.
Most of the clubs, most of the ACB clubs have their own structure, and it's only mandatory to have the under 14, under 16, and under 18. Most of them, for if not all of them, they have mini basketball, under 12, under every age. They have every age. Okay, but there are a few teams that they partner with another clubs to run
the younger ones. Okay,
yeah,
understand.
Okay, so they set the umbrella of the name, but the structure is out of the club. It's not a lot of them. It's just a few. Okay, and I would even say probably only one or two. Okay, but it happens. Yeah, it happens. It's different cultures. Okay, it's someone see it like an expense, someone see it as an investment. Okay, so it's basically what. Yeah, but Real Madrid and Barcelona, they have the youth teams. Okay, well, as I told you, most of them probably, and Baskonia is one of the teams that tries to partner, but it covers under the umbrella. So at the end, it's like if it was their own structure. Okay, and in the last years, I think they've tried to build their own structure. But if they have a very good player, they usually loan him. Okay, that's their culture. I mean, I remember, and just to give an example of somebody important. Now again, my name is gonna be Thiago Splitter, who joined the NBA for a lot of years. Okay, yeah. When he was 16 or 17, I can't remember right now, but he was not even 18 years old. Okay, he joined Baskonia. Okay, but because Baskonia didn't have good teams in his structure of their program, youth teams. Okay, what they do is, okay, I got a very good player. He's a very good prospect. What do? I loan him to a second division team as a professional. And that's the way Baskonia performs with his young players. They bring young players all around the world, Argentina, Brazil, whatever, okay, Latvia, whatever, okay? And what they do is instead of trying to build them up in their own program, they loan them to a good division teams. Okay, and once they develop enough, they bring them into their senior teams. So it's kind of it's not a critique; it's a different way of seeing things. Okay, and it had worked from them very well. Okay, remember it not only Thiago Splitter, but Andres Nocioni, also the same. Escola, the same. Okay, so we're talking about very high-level players.
It's Coach. That's a really good question, Coach Calvin, because me in here in the United States, I consider my organization as a club. But the thing is, we compete on a different AAU levels, and we compete there as a Filipino American team. So we got mixed up with So the thing is, we got our some of our sponsorship from grants from government, but you're not gonna get that much because of there are so many clubs as well too, different culture in American teams that was getting some grants to the government. So you really need to have a help from the parents of the players to be able to get the entire club running,
Yeah.
because if you try to get all the grants from the government, it's going to be emptied, because most of we have like about in our own city, not a state. For example, in DC we have like about 25 to 30 clubs that is like competing and then getting some grants to the government. So for you to, so that's why it's a good one that I'm hearing how does there in the Europe or in Spain doing that, because we heard that in Denmark they'll do the same thing, how they run the clubs, and that's more important, the clubs more than the schools, because here in difference is it's a mix, it's a half. You can set a scholars from a school by just only playing in your club, but there are some really prioritizing school, which is all the scouts goes there to really watch the players. So if the player's not playing on the school, they're not gonna get scouted
Yeah.
by the players. So that's a good
Yeah.
question, Coach Alvin, and thank you, Coach,
Yeah.
for the Coach Jose.
The thing here, Enrico, so you can understand how things work in Spain, how culture is that, as I said, we got two kind of schools. Well, it's all over the world. You got the public school, which is free for anybody, and you got the private school. Well, there's a term in between, doesn't matter. Okay. Usually, public schools do not have activities outside of the school. Usually, or if they have them, they're very bad. Okay. Private schools do have those programs because it's another way of getting money. I mean, you get out of your job, of your work at 8 o'clock. Okay, your kid ends up school at 5 o'clock. What do they do until you get home? Okay, we leave them at school running other activities. Okay, you pay for them. Okay, and you do basketball, soccer, whatever. Okay, usually private schools, there are exceptions for sure, do have good school programs because they run them as a club. Okay, because it's a paid activity, so they gotta do it right. So what they do, okay, we run a good program because we want to keep our students after school doing whatever. Okay. And then you have clubs. You have clubs for sure, because most of public schools do not run any sport program outside of what's the school schedule, okay? Or if they run them pretty bad. So those kids, what they do? They join clubs. Okay, so that's why clubs are so important here in Spain. Okay, it's because it's not everything. I know in the States, talking about the States, I know it's all different. Okay, because all the school system is so much different from a Spanish system. Okay, even at college. At college here, most of college universities here are public. Most of them. In the United States, it's the reverse. Once you get to college, most of them are private. But at the beginning, most of the schools in the United States, and I don't know if all, are public, okay? And I don't know if there are a few that are private. Here, it's kind of a mix. It's kind of a mix. You got as much as private schools as you got public schools, okay? But once you reach to the university, most of them are public. They're not private. We have private universities, okay? But the most known ones, or the most, the ones that everybody wants to join are the public ones, because they're more important, they're better. I don't know how to say it. Okay, so that's the difference between both cultures, and so understanding how everything works will just fit once you see and understand. As I was telling you, public schools usually do not run extra scholar activities on their own public schools. And so those kids, if they want to practice soccer, basketball, whatever, they got to find a place. Where? Clubs.
And coach, that's why it's really important, about what we're trying to do is to make people understand that, hey, because when you see, oh, he's a president of a club or whatever, if you're talking about here in the US, that is okay, but not that big as in Europe, because here we are run by school more than clubs. So
That's
like
it.
you have to, if you're coaching the school, it's different when you're coaching the club. So you got more respected coaching schools. I don't know if it runs there in the Philippines now, but it's here. If you are club, so at least they knew if we're talking about in any geographically, clubs and schools are, you got to be a knowledgeable. Like right now, when I was now talking to you, that I know for a fact now that if you see a coach that coaching in a club, you have to understand this is not the way how you think here in the US, because in the different, so you know what I'm saying, coach. So thank you so much, coach, for that info, and that's really helped maybe people that's watching right now.
And I
Thank
was
you.
I was missing a question by
Yes,
Kelvin.
Yes, coach. The one when you have the 19 teams from all over and you have the geographically selected players, whether
Coaches.
they're from the school, yeah, who coaches them? And because it's very important, coach, for us, because in the Philippines, coach, we have the National Youth Games. It's run by the government under the school system. And the problem there, coach, is you cannot coach if you're not part of the school. Even if you're the one who trains them for the longest time, you cannot coach if you are not a registered teacher of a school. So that's a bit of a problem. So whoever represents the state must be from the school system, not from outside. So what about the
Yeah, here just as the Spanish Federation is the one responsible for naming the national team coach, we got 19 state federations. So every state federation names or signs the coach responsible for their program. Okay, and it can be a school coach, it can be a club coach, it can be somebody from anywhere else. It's not usually. I mean, usually you take people from your own state, which makes sense. I mean, but if you want, you may. I don't know. One of the states may hire you to coach their teams. Okay, and what they do is they make stages when there's a championship. Let's say that we are competing as states in Easter time. Usually most of the states, what they do is run different stages during the season, 2 or 3 before the competition. It can be some weekends, 2-3 days where they meet together, they start practicing together, and then just when the big event arrives, then you make a little bigger stage, I don't know, 10 days or something like that, or 15 days, 2 weeks to prepare the championship. Okay, so as I told you, every federation is the one responsible for signing their coaches. Usually they're coaches from the clubs that are within the state or schools within the state, but you can hire anyone. I mean, you can come and hire Jota if you want just to coach. I don't know, I'm living in Madrid, but maybe you're in Barcelona. If you want it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, but you can do it if you want it.
Coach,
Thank you, coach.
yeah,
Yes, coach.
follow up on that. When you already got the selected players, when you, to compete on the national team, how long is the preparation, coach? I mean, what are the target for, to get this people, all the players that,
That's perfectly established at the Spanish Federation. Well, with the COVID right now, everything changed, but in a normal situation, let's say the under 16 national team, we compete in the summer, okay? The biggest stage is 35 days, including competition.
1 month?
35 days, including competition. Competition, usually it's 9 days. European championships are 9 days. World championships are around that, 9-10 days, okay? So it's kind of, you practice for 22, 23 days. You got the day to to travel to where you gotta play, and you got the 9 days of it's 35 days, the whole final stage, including competition. Now, during the year, when there's when you have holidays, we usually make two stages, which usually are in Christmas and in Eastern time, where we join for 2 or 3 days and we play a tournament for another 2 or 3 days, which is a week. Okay, when you got the 20-day break in Christmas, you make a stage of 6 days and you try to play a tournament with 2 or 3 other teams. Okay, so you practice for 3 days and you play another 3 days. Okay, Eastern time, the same. And then you reach to the final stage, which is previous to the competition, which is all together with competition, 35 days. That's how it works here in Spain for the youth teams, for the youth national teams. Okay, and which is more important, as I told you, official competitions in European or world terms are from under 18, but we start preparing them much earlier. So there's a national team, there's an under 12 national team, there's an under 14 national team, and there's an under 15 national team. Okay, so again, in the summer, this usually even in Christmas and Eastern, it depends. Because if it's the age where they're playing this state national tournament, okay, then they do not and they don't do anything, okay, because they gotta play in this states tournament, okay. But if not, they use Christmas or especially Eastern to make a stage and start practicing as a whole, okay. And they use the summer to make some kind of a 10-day or 14-day stage with those kids. With 20, 25 kids, maybe 30, depends on the age, okay, where you start to develop your program, okay. Under 15, it's usually because there are 2 great tournaments in Europe, okay. One is in Greece, where you start preparing your first European championship for next year. So you start really competing against other national teams, instead of being the first under 16, which is the first official tournament, okay? Yes, for the first time you join other national teams and you are not used to it. That's why they created the under 15, and there are 6 Mediterranean countries: Italy, Greece, France, Spain for sure, where they play a tournament, kind of a European championship. It's a tournament, okay? They do it in Easter time.
Thank you, Coach. Any
Coach,
question, coaches?
Yes,
Coach. Coach Daniel, go.
Coach, I work closely with the Federation of the Philippines. I'm also part of the Association of Coaches. So we are having not a challenge, but in terms of, I don't know if it was discussed earlier when I was not here on the call about licensing. I don't know how it's done in Spain, but in the Philippines, Coach, there's no licensing. There's not even an accreditation program nationally. It's just if the school hires you or you want to put up your own club, you can. You don't need to register with anyone. You don't need to write to anyone. You can do it by yourself. That's number one reality here. And the second one, Coach, is in terms of the federation support. The Federation of the Philippines, they manage and select the U18 team, as you mentioned, the national team for under 18. But beyond under 18, going lower, they don't have any. There's no national program from the federation. So there's a proposal, and I saw this in Indonesia firsthand, because the national coach for Indonesia now is Raho Toroman. He used to coach for national team of the Philippines also. So what he instituted now in Indonesia was he will develop a base play of what he will look for the national players. And then he will break it down and try to make it for youth level. So everywhere in Indonesia, the federation will mandate their clubs, because all the clubs are registered to the federation and they have licensing. So all the coaches must know this base play. So by the time that any player from anywhere in Indonesia comes around 16, they at least know what the base play of their national team is. Because right now the challenge, Coach, in the Philippines is the selection for the national team, the youth national team, which is under 18. It's just subjective. There's really no system. you don't even know how to make it to the pool. You don't know, right? So, and we are archipelago, so we don't really know like how to select, when to select, which scout to send to, which school to go to. So that's a problem for us. So there's a disconnect, coach, between the national program and the actual youth program here.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yes.
Okay, first, in terms of licenses, you need license as a player and as a coach. As a player, you just have to ask for it. If your club pays for it, because it costs a little money, but it costs money, okay, you get it. For coaches, to get the license to coach, you gotta go through the courses. So first level allows you to coach under 14 and lower teams. Second level to senior, but no national division. Okay, and the third level is you can coach anything, even pro teams. Okay, so if you're trying to coach on a second division team, and you don't have the third level, you cannot coach. Okay, you need your license. If you don't have your license, you cannot coach. Okay, for sure. If you want to build a club, there are some requisites that you gotta apply for. I don't really know how many of them and which are they, but you gotta. There are a lot of different things that you gotta be setting before you can build a club. Okay, and the federation has to the state federation. Okay, Madrid's federation if you're building a club in Madrid, Cataluña's federation if you're building a club in Catalonia, they have to give permission or not. If you comply with all what's needed or not, they will let you build a club or not. Okay, in terms of the program, okay, let's say it this way: the Spanish Federation works like a club, which means right now Sergio Scariolo is responsible for the Spanish males national team, senior team, and he's responsible to break down how the under 40, under 16, under 18, and under 20, because he's responsible for the whole program, which it doesn't have to be with the coach. It can be with another person. We lost Calvi. Okay, he will see the recording later. Okay, which means that now the position of the sports director and the Spanish national team coach, which is Sergio Scariolo, is the same. But it used not to be that way. We had a sports director and we had a head coach. Okay, so the sports director, which now is Sergio Scariolo, is responsible to break down and force the under 16, under 18, and under 20 to play in a particular way, especially in terms of concepts, not sets, but concepts. So when you join the under 16 national team, you start learning the concepts that you will need in under 18, under 18, under 20. But they work like a club. So rest of the clubs do whatever they want, which makes sense. Why should I play like the national team if I don't believe in the way national team play? Okay, so this is important. I mean, the Spanish federations sets the rules for how their national teams play, but we don't force any club to play in a particular way. What we do when we select a player to join the national team is we try to see a picture of the kind of players we have, and we try to apply what they do well in their clubs to the way we are going to play in the national team. Okay, with the concepts that are broke down by the head coach of the senior national team. Okay, but then forcing somebody, let's say this, okay, let's set an example. Let's say that the national team is not the case, okay, but let's say that we want to play zone defense in under 16. And we are gathering players from Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventud, Estudiantes, whatever, okay? And nobody of them runs zone defense. Why should we force them to run zone defense? Makes no sense. They gotta be free as clubs to develop their own programs. Whatever we were discussing at the beginning of this podcast, which was if you believe that the game is kind of a one-on-one game, then you gotta develop your players in that way. If you believe it's more of a kind of a collective game, then you gotta develop your players in a much different way. It's not the same, okay? But who am I to tell you how you should play? Okay, so for me, in my way of thinking, it makes no sense that the national team sets the way of the whole country playing. For me, it's the opposite. It's how the best players in your country play should adjust the way national teams play.
Coach Calvin,
Okay. Just to make it clear, I think it's clear. Let's say I'm a coach, I'm responsible for the national teams program.
Yes, coach.
And I don't believe in three-pointers. Let's say that. But my best players of the country at any age, they're very good three-point shooters. What do? No, you cannot shoot three-pointers. Oh, you're good at shooting three-pointers? Let's play shooting threes at the national team.
Understand. Coach, for that one, for the common commentary for the Philippine national team, I don't know if you're familiar with the system here, Coach, of the national team being funded privately. So it's under the federation, but it's very heavily funded by a company. And that company, including the head coach, is also into the university leagues. So the common commentary is if you play from the high school until university of this particular school, you have like 1 foot already in the door of making it to the national team. Because even the head coach of the national team or the director is from the same line of playing. So, I don't really have any say on that one because it's a privately funded team. So they try to make it work however they can. Maybe for them, recruiting players from different backgrounds will take them longer to practice than to just select from a school and then add maybe 2 or 3 more players from outside and then send them as the national team. So that's the common commentary on that one. And I think what they're doing right now, I'm not sure about this, at least for example for Indonesia, is again, as I said, the base play that they're trying to tell the club, and then they will create pocket tournaments using those plays, defense, and all this just for that national team alone. And then, of course, you can still run your own on your own tournaments, but I will establish like maybe a month-long tournament using FIBA rules, using all this defense that we want for the national team. So just a pocket tournament just for that one. I think it makes sense if you only have that rule only for that tournament. But if you're trying to tell the club to run the entire length of year the way you want it, then there's no point having the clubs there. It's like a farm team. Everyone's a farm team. So.
Yeah, look, it was long ago. It was kind of maybe 30 years ago or something like that. I'm starting to get old. Or female team, it's usually very good in terms of the world basketball environment. Okay, but 30 years ago, we ran a program with the national female team, which was that they played as a team the whole year. Okay, it was, and what's the advantage of that? The advantage is that if you're practicing together the whole year and you're playing the first division, it was the national team was a club team run by the federation. They played the first division league in female here in Spain, and then they went to compete. So because you were practicing together 1 year, 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, you are much better when playing as a team.
Yeah.
Right? What's the problem? It's closed. It's closed. I mean, what happens if during that season you have already selected 12 players, okay? And at mid-season, there are 6 players in other clubs that you think that are better than the ones that are in your team. It's closed. And for me, a national team should never be closed.
Yeah.
It should be open for the best players at any given time. Well, best players. Again, yeah, because this is philosophy, right? You don't always build the best team with the best 12 players. Usually you get the 7, 8 best players and you surround them with
role
players
play.
good enough that make the best team. Okay, but that's the coach decision. Okay, that's the one responsible for doing that. Okay, but that thing worked pretty well. But then people started to complain. It was a close thing. First, they open up because the league started to become a little bit tougher. So they open up to get 2 foreign players into the team. Okay, so it was the Spanish national team with 10 of those players and 2 foreign players joining the team to play at that league. And later, complainings about the rest of the clubs and women that were not able to join the program or the team, that would say, maybe I'm performing better than the ones that are in the team during the season, and I have no chance of joining the national team. So at the end, it became what is normally a national team. You just select the players to play at a particular moment, and you join them in a stage just to practice and play. Okay, I mean, everything has its good things and its bad things, and you gotta make a decision every single time.
Yeah, like here, coach. Never been they did that, developing. Like what before the Philippines does in their national team. They built it in one select from the college, and then all those teams got together for about a year, and they compete. But it was become successful back on the 80s. I remember when all that national team just played, and that's actually I know that how China doing theirs when they selected their team. They go playing all year round to get the chemistry built up before they play to the FIBA international. So yeah, but that's a good thing too. Like you're right, coach. There will be pros and cons of anything that you. Thank you, coach, for that information. It's really helping us. Understanding and maybe getting some of the principles a little bit
Okay, that's
questionable. Thank you.
yeah. I understand that the difference in cultures. Yes, it's a big thing. Okay, because we do not see the world in the same way
Exactly.
when we come from cultures.
But about
Okay, so maybe
licensing, coach.
what's obvious for me, it's not obvious for another culture, and what's obvious for another culture is not obvious for me. So we just gotta accept that there are different ways of seeing the world.
Exactly, coach. Yeah. Here about licensing, Coach Calvin and Coach Jose and Mel. Like, yeah, you gotta go to the course for the USA basketball, and you have to have an experience 5 years at least for you to be able to coach FIBA national team. But you gotta compete with the 52 states. No chance. Especially here, the youth, Mike Jones, the Demata High School. That's private. That's not a public school. Which is, Demata was known all over the world because of Coach John. So like that's the difference here. When you're in a private, you are really tough coach or a player because they recruited those free public schools and get into the paid program, which is the Demata Catholic schools, St. John's, Anthony, prep, Georgetown prep. So those are the top calibers private schools here. So they got all the players to compete in the national team. So yeah, that's the licensing. You gotta go to the courses because there's a background checking. You can't, if you have a criminal record, you won't be able to be pulled. The coaches. You can't just be coach because you say you're coach. So that's the one thing about here.
Thank you, coach. Thank you, Coach Eric. Coach Calvin, okay.
Yes, coach. Actually, coach, me personally, I've known maybe 2 coaches from Spain. One is Miguel Cuesta, Coach Miguel Cuesta. Remember Coach Mel? Coach Miguel?
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes,
he's also from Spain, and he joined the junior NBA program for Asia, and he was commenting on different levels about like how it's different in Spain. So I was really curious on like how the club system works, because he's saying that the school system, the limitations and the flaws, and like just this conversation alone really opens my mind on like what the Philippines is missing. I mean, the fans are here. Like basketball is number one here in the Philippines, but we don't have the system that works. We follow for example, what we see in the NBA or what we see in different countries, but we don't have a system across the board that works. It's basically just three things for us: naturalize someone from outside, or get someone with Filipino blood early, so he gets the passport early to play for the Philippine team. Other than those two, the homegrown talent is really, really hard to do. And my personal take is it's a bit confusing because of all the money like dumped into the basketball program here. We have the longest history for basketball in Asia. We have the first professional league in the whole of Asia. We are the only Asian team with the medal on the FIBA World. It was 1950 something, 53. We have the bronze. So for me, it's like, I mean, Philippines should at least be competitive. And I think this club system, or at least, as you said, Coach, the state federation, that one is very new for me.
Yes.
I know the national federation. Everyone has a national federation. But to have a state federation, it doesn't happen in the Philippines. So policing all these clubs, getting all this documentation, licensing, and all this is very, very difficult for us. But it opens my mind, and I may be doing suggestions. And Coach, thank you for this. Hope I can ask you more questions in the future, maybe as a resource person for this one, because I know the federation here. We did a memorandum of agreement. I'm the one who drafted it. It's about training coaches on the youth level. So we're trying to come up with a handbook, and the handbook will contain terms. So it's across the board similar terms, because we have, I think, Coach, 100 languages in the Philippines. So the language that we use in different parts of the country is different. So the way we teach basketball is different, and the players are the one who suffers, because when they go to Manila or the main cities, they don't understand the coaches because the language is different. So that's the first one. We try to do terminologies. And the second one that we want to do, Coach, is to at least develop a sense of system on how to accredit coaches and make them what you call this, not stagnant. Because here, Coach, some coaches are enrolling on webinars. Some of them, they do accreditation, but for the rest, they just consider coaching as a job. So if it's additional cost for them to go fly and go to the city to study, then they might not do so. So those are the things that we are trying to come up with. And I think in the future, hopefully, Coach, hopefully we can follow what you're doing in Spain. Coach, before I end, I have one more question, but it's mainly for you. Can you share with us maybe a few things that you used to do before, but after years of experience and coaching, you try not to do now? Something like that on teaching.
Okay, let me tell you a story. Okay,
Yes.
I'm not gonna answer because it's a very difficult question. But look, when I was fired from Zaragoza 3 years ago, I went to San Antonio to watch the San Antonio Spurs practice, because Ettore Messina was the assistant coach, and I was the assistant coach for Ettore Messina when he was here in Madrid. Okay, so I was plenty of time, and I went there. Okay, one of the days I went to Austin to join the G League team for the San Antonio Spurs. I can't remember the name. It's Austin. I don't know. Maybe you tell me, Enrico. Okay, the name of their G League team. Okay, and the head coach was not there. That day was the assistant coach, who was something like 30 years old guy, a former player who got injured and had to retire, and he was starting his coaching career. Okay, so I went to see them practice. We talked, and he invited me to lunch. Okay, to have lunch, and he asked me this question. He asked me, "What's the difference between a veteran coach and a young coach. Because he was young. I was a kind of a veteran, okay? And he wanted to know that. And I said, simplicity. Simplicity. And he said, okay, does that mean that if I simplify things, I will be better? And I say, no. You're gonna run your own complexity, and when you are a veteran, you will simplify. If you copy the simplicity of a veteran coach, you will fail. So the question to you, what you're asking, is I cannot give you an answer, because you gotta go through the thing. Yeah, you gotta go through the things I went through, and it will be different for you and for any other coach. And then with time, you will realize the things that you won't do again and the things that you will insist on. And those will be different for every single coach.
That's
okay.
Fair answer. Yeah.
For me, it's very important. You gotta go through your own complexity, and with time, if you are good, you will simplify. If a young coach tries to copy the simplification of somebody that has run for 35 years a coaching position, he will fail. That's my opinion.
That's first time I heard that one, Coach, but that's fair and yeah, makes sense too. Yeah, true.
You gotta go through. You gotta get the
Yes,
experience.
Coach. Thank you so much, Coach Ramon, for your time. And before we end, Coach, I would like to thank our sponsor, the NABA, North American Basketball Association, and Familia Washington, D.C., ECQ Apparel, and also B-Mart Filipino Grocery, Team Rich, and also Team Spartan Basketball. And Elgons, thank you, Coach. Thank you, coaches. Thank you for your time, Coach. Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach.
Very much. And by the way, San Austin
We learned a
first.
lot, Coach.
Yeah, we learned a lot from you. Thank you, Coach Jose, for the privilege.
Thank you.
It's an
Thank you. It's a
honor.
pleasure.
Kevin, thank you. Coach Mel, thank you.